Okay, so you're diving headfirst into AI. And not just like the fun stuff, the make me a latte AI, but the kind of stuff that keeps tech CEOs up at night.
Yeah, you could say that.
This stack of articles you sent over about the dangers of AI, it's a little intimidating.
It's good to be prepared, though, right?
Yeah, you're totally right.
It's like learning to drive it. You got to master those brakes before you floor it.
Exactly. And speaking of things spinning out of control, this built-in article you flagged, 14 Dangers of Artificial Intelligence, does not mess around.
It's a good one, right?
It dives right into the deep end
Yeah, that
with
is.
like
Yeah.
economic upheaval and not just, oh, robots are going to take our jobs, like lawyers,
Yep.
accountants.
Yeah, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter.
Whoa.
The article basically says that AI could impact almost every profession in some way. It's less about job replacement, though, and more about job transformation.
Okay, so adapt or perish. Got it.
Pretty much.
But then it gets even wilder. AI could actually make socioeconomic inequality even worse.
Well, think about it this way. Who's going to benefit most from AI advancements? The people developing it, the companies deploying it.
Right.
Often those who are already in positions of power.
That's a good point.
And then the article even hints at this potential black market for AI tech.
Hold on, a black market, like
Yeah.
shady back alley deals for algorithms. Tell me more.
It's not that far-fetched.
Really?
You've seen it with other technologies, right?
Right.
As AI gets more powerful, potentially less regulated,
Right.
access to this tech could become a whole new arms race,
Oh, wow.
with some players operating outside the rules.
Okay, so that's two major red flags already. Widening inequality and this potential black market for dangerous tech.
Right.
What else should we be concerned about?
Let's talk about trust.
Or the lack of it.
Precisely.
Okay.
The article really dives into this whole issue of AI transparency, or rather, the lack thereof.
Okay.
We're talking black box algorithms,
Right.
where even the creators don't fully understand how the AI arrives at its decisions.
So we're essentially creating these incredibly powerful systems that we don't even fully comprehend.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's a little unnerving to say the least.
And it feeds directly into this problem of misinformation and deepfakes.
Right.
How do you combat fake news when you can't even be sure how the AI generating it works?
And we're struggling with that even without AI making it harder.
Exactly. It's like trying to fight a ghost. It's difficult to counter something you can't predict or fully understand.
Right.
And this impacts everyone, especially in this age of information overload. Think about how much content you consume online every day, from news articles to social media posts.
There's a lot.
How can you be sure what's real anymore?
Yeah, you're right.
It makes you think.
Okay, so trust is out the window. What's next on the AI danger list?
Data privacy. AI thrives on data. And I mean a ton of data.
Right. Our faces, our online shopping habits, our location data, it's all up for grabs.
And not just any data. It's yours, mine, everyone's.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, where's it all going?
Right. And how is it being used?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
The article argues that without clear regulations and ethical guidelines around data privacy in the age of AI, we're basically handing over the keys to our digital lives without a second thought.
So we've got potential economic disaster, a black market for dangerous tech, our trust eroding faster than you can say deep fake, and our data being siphoned off into some unknown digital abyss. Should we all just log off now and go live in a cabin in the woods?
Well, it's not quite time to head for the hills just yet, but these are definitely issues that need our attention.
Right.
And it's about to get even more complicated.
Don't tell me. It's about robots taking over the world.
Let's just say it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. The article really dives into this whole control problem of AI.
Okay, spill the AI tea. What's this control problem all about? Are we talking about like a rogue Roomba holding your smart home hostage or something?
Not quite.
Okay.
Although I'm sure someone somewhere is working on that.
Probably.
But the control problem, it refers to this very real concern that as we develop increasingly sophisticated AI, we might get to a point where we lose control of it.
Okay, that sounds less like a Roomba and more like, I don't know, Skynet from Terminator. That's getting into some seriously dystopian territory.
It might sound like science fiction, but the article argues that it's a possibility we need to take seriously.
Okay.
And the control problem, it kind of manifests in a few different ways.
Okay.
One example the article cites is the development of autonomous weapons.
Autonomous weapons. So we're talking AI that can make like life or death decisions without human intervention.
Exactly. The article calls them the Kalashnikovs of tomorrow.
Ooh.
Cheap, readily available, and terrifyingly efficient.
Yeah.
It's easy to imagine how this could go very wrong, especially if these weapons fall into the wrong hands.
Okay, so we've got potentially rogue AI autonomous weapons. Anything else we should be adding to our AI danger bingo card?
Well, the article also talks about the potential for AI to exacerbate existing biases.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because AI is only as good as the data it's trained on, and unfortunately, the real world is full of biases.
Exactly. And the article points out that even seemingly neutral algorithms can perpetuate and amplify those societal biases,
Right.
often in ways that are really subtle and kind of insidious.
Yeah, can you give me an example? How does that actually play out in the real world?
Sure. Like think about something like loan applications. An AI system that's designed to assess creditworthiness might inadvertently discriminate against certain groups if the data that it was trained on reflected existing biases in lending practices.
So even if the AI isn't like explicitly programmed to discriminate, it can still learn to do so based on the data it's fed.
Exactly.
That's accurate.
It really highlights the need for greater awareness and oversight in how we develop and deploy these systems.
Right.
We need to be actively looking for and mitigating these biases,
Right.
not just assuming that because it's AI, it's inherently neutral.
So data privacy, algorithmic bias, and the potential for AI to literally become too smart for its own good. It's a lot. It's not all doom and gloom, though, right? I mean, the article talks about the potential for AI to do good, doesn't
It
it?
does. It's easy to get caught up in the potential dangers. And believe me, those dangers are real. But it's important to remember that AI is a tool.
Okay.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
So how do we ensure that the good outweighs the bad? How do we end up with AI that, like, enhances our lives instead of throwing them into chaos?
That's the goal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The article argues that we need to be proactive.
Okay.
We need to be thinking about these ethical and societal implications now, not after the fact.
Okay, so less move fast and break things and more look before you leap.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But how do we actually do that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to require a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
For starters, we need greater transparency in AI development.
Okay.
If we don't understand how these systems work, we can't hope to control them.
Right, that whole black box problem we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to figure out a way to shine a light in there.
Yeah.
And we need clear regulatory frameworks that address the ethical use of AI.
Yeah.
This includes everything from data privacy to algorithmic bias to the potential for AI-driven job displacement.
Okay, so more transparency, more regulation. What else? What can, like, everyday people like you and me do? It feels like this is bigger than just us.
It's bigger than any one person or organization, but that doesn't mean we're powerless.
Okay.
We need to educate ourselves about these issues.
Right.
And we need to demand better from the companies that are developing these technologies.
Okay.
We also need to support research and initiatives that are focused on developing AI responsibly and ethically.
Okay, so we need to be informed, engaged, and vocal. But going back to the article for a moment, there was one point that I found particularly thought-provoking. It was that whole idea about AI potentially reducing human influence and connection. Like, what happens to us as a society when we hand over so much control to these machines?
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
Right.
And it's not just about some far-off future either.
Right.
I mean, think about it. We're already seeing hints of this in our everyday lives.
Sure.
The way we rely on technology to communicate with each other for entertainment, even for companionship in some cases.
Right, like those AI-powered chatbots that some people are using to combat loneliness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while those tools can be helpful in certain situations,
Sure.
the article makes this point that over-reliance on AI could actually lead to a decline in genuine human connection.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Like, if we're not careful, we could end up outsourcing our relationships, our empathy, even our ability to understand and interact with each other on a deeper level.
So it's not just robots taking our jobs, it's robots taking over our social lives, too. That's kind of wild.
In a way,
Yeah.
yeah. And that brings up a whole other level of concern. What happens when AI starts to blur the lines between machine and human? You know, where it gets hard to tell where one ends and the other begins.
You're talking about sentience, right? That whole can machines think debate.
Exactly. The article even mentions that Google engineer who claimed one of their language models was sentient. Remember that whole story?
Oh, yeah, it was everywhere.
I mean, ultimately, they said he was wrong, that the AI wasn't actually sentient. But
Yeah.
still, the fact that we're even having these conversations, I think it just shows how rapidly AI is evolving and how it's pushing us to really confront some big questions about consciousness, about ethics, about what it means to be human.
It really does feel like we're stepping into uncharted territory here, like we're holding on to this amazing, powerful technology, but we don't have a map.
Exactly. And that's both exciting and terrifying at the same time,
Right.
right? We're on the cusp of something revolutionary, but we need to be cautious.
Right.
We need to be asking ourselves not just, can we do this, but should we do this?
It all comes back to ethics, doesn't it? We can't let our pursuit of all this technological advancement outpace our moral compass.
100%. And that's why I think the article really emphasizes the importance of humanities in all of this, in shaping the future of AI. You know, we need more than just the engineers and the coders. We need ethicists, philosophers, sociologists, people who can help us navigate these complex social and ethical implications of this technology.
It's like we need a new kind of renaissance almost, where science and tech are in conversation with the humanities, not operating in their own separate silos.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
We need a more holistic approach to AI development, for sure. One that takes into account not just the technical stuff, but also the human impact.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here today. Everything from economic upheaval to autonomous weapons to the very definition of consciousness is a lot to process.
It really is.
Yeah.
But you know what? Awareness is the first step.
Right.
Just by having these conversations, by understanding the potential dangers of AI, we empower ourselves to make more informed decisions about how it's developed and used.
So it's not about being afraid of AI, it's about being informed and engaged.
Exactly. And being vocal. You know, demanding better from the companies and institutions creating these technologies. We need to push for greater transparency, accountability, and a more human-centered approach to all of it.
It definitely sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
We do. But it's important work. The future of AI, it's not set in stone.
Right.
It's really up to us to shape it in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
That's a great point and a powerful note to end on. Well, this has been an incredible conversation, really thought-provoking. Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with me.
Of course. It's been my pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
And for everyone listening out there, stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those big questions because the future of AI depends on it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.